Welcome to episode 200 of the Microsoft Cloud IT Pro podcast, recorded live October 9th, 2020. This is a show about Microsoft 365 and Azure from the perspective of IT pros and end users, where we discuss a different topic or news and how it relates to you. In this, our 200th episode, we do something monstrous. And we talk about mailboxes. We spend some time talking about site mailboxes, if you remember those in Sharepoint, and how they're going away. We talk about tenant-to-tenant mailbox migrations, and then wrap it up by talking about continuous access evaluation, a new feature that's recently rolled out in preview in conditional access. Hope you enjoy episode number 200.
Recording. Yes, that would be helpful.
Recording, test 1, 2, 3.
Levels,
Can you hear
levels.
Oh, we are happy as can be. We're young and free.
Are we? I don't know if we're as happy as can be.
I'm happy. We are recording episode 200. There's another reason I'm happy too. Congratulations. We have a special episode planned we're going to talk about all of our normal stuff.
Welcome to COVID-19.
But it's episode 200.
Yeah.
And it's been over 3 years, Scott, because if I go in and look at our stats and I go look at the last 3 years, because that's the farthest back Blueberry goes, it does not cover our whole episode or our whole podcast anymore.
Well then.
But
let's see if we can't have some more roll off the end.
Some more roll off the end after this episode?
Yeah.
All right.
Pop a couple off the stack.
You know the other reason I'm happy?
It's Friday. I mean, it's like the 86th time that it's been Friday this week, but
yeah. Is it still Friday? I feel like it's been I don't know. I don't know where I'm going.
Or Monday.
Or Monday. It's probably
it's day of the week that ends in Y.
Yeah. One of those days. No, I have a brand new exclusive black iPad coming from Walmart. Compliments of somebody that has an Outlook.com email address.
I saw that. Wasn't that nice of them to use your credit card and order you an iPad?
That was nice. And a nice fancy one. It's a black iPad Pro with 512 gigs of storage. All
not too bad.
For a very generous price of $1,750.
You know, it's always nice to be scammed. I hope you emailed them back or called them on their 1-800 number that they provided and verified your credit card details.
I did, because I don't think I actually ordered it, and I wanted to make sure that money made it back in my credit card. So I gave them a call, provided my credit card. Yeah, so they could give me a full refund. They even said they'd ship me the iPad anyways, even after I gave them my credit card number for the refund. They were so nice.
That was very nice of them.
It was. So now I challenge anybody that's going to listen to this to go build a black iPad Pro with 512 gigs of storage for $1,750. I tried to do it last night just because I got stuck when I had to pick the black. Here, I thought there was a brand new one out there that was like, remember the Jet Black? Was it Jet Black for the iPhone 7?
Something like that, yeah.
I had one of those. It died. There was an antenna problem with that one, I think. But yes, alas, I don't think I'm actually going to get that black iPad Pro. But
Walmart actually keeps an official FAQ about what to do in the case of phishing scams or compromised accounts.
Do they?
Yep.
Maybe I should go submit it to Walmart.
No, that's not actually one of the things that they want you to do.
They want me to go call the FBI?
No.
The NSA?
No. Nope.
I'm just going to say all of those 3-letter words because they're all listening anyways, and maybe they'll find out about this.
Yeah, no, they would prefer that you actually didn't call them or open any tickets or deal with their customer service, just that you delete your saved payment methods and reset your password.
That's so nice of them to take that seriously.
Well, I think that is taking it seriously. Wouldn't you want them to debug every email that lands in your mailbox?
No, not really. And to be fair, I don't think anybody even got my Walmart account. It was one of those emails that they just sent me a mocked up email hoping I'd call. I have no fear about any of my accounts being compromised, only the realization that my email address is not private.
There is that.
Yeah.
Your email address is internet famous.
Oh, anyways, should we keep talking about email?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Who doesn't like a little bit of email?
Who doesn't like email? Who doesn't like email and SharePoint combined?
Well, I mean, email and SharePoint haven't been combined for years now, right?
That's true. Was it 2017?
So supposedly, I mean, that's when
I
they
don't-
announced it was going away.
I don't even remember this, to be honest. Imagine, I don't remember an announcement from 3 years ago. I have never seen a deprecation take this long.
That's how long deprecations are supposed to take in Microsoft land.
Is it? Are they really
Yeah.
supposed to last 3 years?
I believe that is the current game plan or kind of policy statement is that Microsoft will give customers 3 years notice for removal of functionality.
I guess I look at
least that's how it is on the Azure side of the house. I don't know how it is on I don't know if that's the official stance on the Office side.
I guess I look at things like workflows, like 2010 and 2013 workflows. Were they ever officially deprecated? I feel like one day they were just like, hey, we're deleting these in 3 months to a year.
Well, yeah. I think it depends to where some of that functionality falls out. Like I don't know that it's very clear the rules there and how those all come to be.
Got it. I just
And
figured
stuff
once I see a
changes.
deprecation, I just stop using it because
it's
safer
either
that
going
way.
away or it's going to come back, but it's going to be totally different when it does.
Yes. So what we are talking about, since we've been talking about deprecation, nobody actually knows what it is. Site mailboxes in SharePoint Online.
Yeah, you remember those things?
Unfortunately, I don't know that I ever used one much, to be honest. But it was announced in 2017 that those were being deprecated. And since that announcement, imagine this, they have seen site mailbox usage drop consistently in customers to move to alternate solutions. I would hope so. However, there are still customers that have activity, so they would like to recommend that you transition to another mailbox option, preferably Office 365 groups and Teams, and then modernize your classic sites and do all the things to actually use solutions that are now hereby supported.
Yes. So I think the takeaway here is if you haven't thought about site mailboxes in a while, but they were potentially something that were used within your organization, and you are in SharePoint Online, it's time to probably now go in and make sure that you extract any data that you need to save before those get 100% turned off and deleted. So you have until April 2021 to go ahead and do that. But there's not going to be an automated migration mechanism or archival mechanism for you from kind of everything that's out there today. So, it's pretty easy to get the list of mailboxes in your tenant. That's just a little bit of PowerShell. Or if you're a member of those site mailboxes, the sites that are associated with those site mailboxes, you would see them in things like Outlook on the web as well, to be able to go ahead and find them. But if you just run through, see that you do have mailboxes, rationalize, do I need to keep it? Do I not need to keep it? For any that you do need to keep, you're going to have to extract that data and, figure out what you want to do with it from there. And data extraction is just your old friend and, that wonderful, comforting, warm blanket of PSTs.
Yep, there is nothing fancy here. It is Exchange PowerShell if you're going to go identify some of these and identify owners with PowerShell. But yeah, then the extract is just, they have a whole instruction guide. If nobody has ever exported mailboxes to a PST before, they do have manual instructions with, looks like PowerShell is their manual instructions. They also have using a script, and then you can do it with APIs to extract mailbox content, which I'm thinking maybe the APIs still just do PSTs, but it's just a manual export import of your mailbox data.
You
Nothing
you can
fancy
also
about it.
use the compliance center to do it. So if you find the URLs to your site mailboxes, through things like PowerShell, you can go ahead and include those inside of an e-discovery case and
Oh, that's
export that way as well.
there it is. I missed the very step one of that. I just
Yeah.
scrolled down and started seeing
Wow. Yeah.
In
Step one's the
PowerShell.
important one.
Mailboxes in PowerShell. I should read step one first.
Yeah. Yep.
Um,
Yeah. So you can go ahead and do that, extract them out, and then you might want to be kind of preemptive and remove those mailboxes once you're sure you have the data out. And then if you want to, you can go and create a new team or group, and now you have the PST. You can import that data back in if you need it.
Yeah, I would argue that most of you probably don't need it. Maybe, I guess I can see for compliance reasons. Again, if you were using it 4 or 5 years ago and you need 7 years of data or something like that. But I have found, even personally, there's a lot of emails that I save that I don't actually need to, nor I should because I'm too lazy to delete them. But there's a lot of emails people don't need to save.
Yeah. So that is the fun and old and tried and true way of moving mailboxes, right? Doing PST extractions and then throwing them back up on the other side. And for site mailboxes, like that's okay. Another new ish piece of functionality that was announced specifically in regard to mailbox migrations, and not SharePoint site mailboxes and not team site mailboxes, things like that, but just mailboxes in general, was the cross-tenant mailbox migration service, which has entered public preview.
This one was interesting because I have had to do this on a surprising number of occasions.
I think if you work with Office 365 or you've been working with it for a while, and particularly Exchange Online, I think most consultants have probably at least run into the situation where you've had a customer who's either gone through an acquisition or they've had to ingest data from some other Office 365 customer, things like that. It is a thing that happens.
Someone in your company stood up a tenant with the wrong company name, and then everybody started using it, and then you realize maybe you should get one with the right company name.
Yeah. I used to think I was more of an expert in BitTitan than I was in anything to do with Office 365 mailboxes, right?
BitTitan is my hero.
Yeah.
If you're listening, BitTitan, you want to sponsor us? Because we both like you. Oh, by the way, Microsoft just came out with cross-tenant migrations. No, I still use them for all my G Suite migrations and that type of stuff too. But yeah, this allows you to go in and actually just use PowerShell and out of the box Azure Office 365 to set up batches of mailboxes and migrate them from one Office 365 tenant to another. No third-party software, no, how do we do this? Just, I mean, based on this article, it seems relatively simple. We all know that that's never the case. They do have an article. Oh, the article by it in the blog post says documentation coming soon. The documentation is there now.
Yeah.
So you do need an Azure Key Vault for this.
So I think that's one thing is when you said Office 365 plus Azure, this makes the assumption that not only do you have Office 365 for both tenants, but that you also have access to an Azure subscription so that you can leverage that cloud-based hardware security module, HSM, Azure Key Vault.
Yep. And I'm assuming, I'm going to go out on a limb here because this is not something that's in the documentation. Is you could always, if you can do this within like a week or a week, 30 days or so, you could probably just go stand up even a trial subscription of Azure and be able to do this, because it's not like that Azure Key Vault's going to burn through a bunch of credits while it's doing this. You're just going to be setting that time frame before your trial expires.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm sure you could figure out a way if you
don't
wanted
have
to
one.
do that. Yeah. So there's a couple things to think about with this one. Is you're not just moving potentially mailboxes. You're typically going to bring a user across with their mailbox as well, and users always have extra attributes and metadata associated with them that's not even specific to Exchange Online. So you do need to make sure that any metadata required for the move is there to get things working. So um, uh, things like making sure that you have mail user objects in the target organization all set up and ready to go. That does need to be in place. So you might not have eliminated all your like on-prem infrastructure to do this. Like you still might need to do Azure AD and AD Connect and things like that to force some of those attributes up.
Yep. That, and like you said, mail users. So not like a normal Office 365 user, but go create these in the target tenant as
Yes. Yep.
mail users.
Yep. That's it.
Which is key. There is a lot of scripting. So you have Microsoft provides a bunch of scripts within their GitHub repo. So you can go grab, I think those are all in GitHub. I was looking through the article to find where those are. PS1 for the target tenant. Yes, they have one for target tenant and then one for. Do they not have one? Nope, those are all the target tenant ones. Sorry, had to flip through it. So kind of the steps that you'd walk through is Azure Resource Group, Azure Key Vault, create those. Access policies for your target Office 365 Exchange Online Mailbox migration. There's some certificates, and all of these Microsoft has scripts for. Azure AD application gets created, certificate secrets uploaded, permissions are set, and then the target admin has to consent to that application you created. And then at that point in time, organizational relationship is created, a migration endpoint is created, and then you can start migrating all the mailboxes. So this isn't like a point and click or go run like one script. Like there's a process involved in this and getting it all set up, specifically the target tenant. The source tenant has 3 steps, the target tenant has 11.
Yes. This is also for it's going to be good for some use cases and not good and not work the way you want it to for others. So if you are an organization that has very large mailboxes and you've enabled archiving within your organization, and you have users who have exceeded their primary archive limits, and then they've hit the auto expand functionality where they actually have multiple archive mailboxes that sit behind a single user account. This will only migrate the primary mailbox and the archive mailbox. It won't be able to migrate any additional archives. So you might have to do some additional kind of spelunking in your source environment to see how those mailboxes manifest.
The other thing that I don't see anywhere in here is how this handles shared mailboxes, or if it handles shared mailboxes. I mean, in theory, it's just another mailbox, but it doesn't specifically say whether this does or does not work for shared mailboxes anywhere in this article.
Yeah, I would think about it as primarily a user mailbox migration mechanism, and certainly there's other tools like BitTitans of the world and things like that out there that can uh, that can be used to make that
Right.
happen.
To get that, because you could have those that are associated to Teams and Office 365 groups and all the other good stuff.
Yeah. You also have to do some manual work in Outlook and reconfigure Outlook profiles post migration. So if you're used to doing, say, like migrations from on-premises to Office 365 through like the existing migration batch services, Outlook can figure a lot of that information out with auto discover because you're setting a target address on that mailbox that's moving. But that doesn't work in this scenario either. So once it's migrated, you have to go back and touch the clients as well. But hey, it's public preview, and it's nice to see it just built in.
Right. Now, if they could start building this in for all the other stuff in my Office 365 tenant merges or moves, I would be a
Well,
happy
you want
man.
like Teams and SharePoint?
I want
And all
like Teams and SharePoint and all the things.
yeah, a little bit harder to do.
Azure AD. I want like a trust between my two Azure ADs, and
That already exists.
although
All Azure
you can kinda
ADs
do
trust
that.
other Azure ADs. That's how you do B2B sharing.
But you can't do like lookups. Well, I suppose with guest accounts, you're all set. But it's not the same. I want like, anyways, we're not going to go down that rabbit hole.
I know what you want, but
I know
you're not getting it today.
I'm not getting it. Well, maybe someday. So this has nothing. Well, okay. So this kind of has to do with mailboxes. I can tie this announcement into mailboxes. This is something that I saw surface itself recently primarily within conditional access. I think is where I first saw this feature. And this is continuous access evaluation. That is a new feature service within Microsoft 365, specifically within Azure AD and access to services. So this came about as people have used Office 365. There can be a lag between when you make changes to users, maybe even a user gets compromised. I don't know if you've ever noticed it, Scott, where like because of the whole token expiration and refreshes, you can like disable a user and they can still get email for a little while on their mobile device or something like that. So what continuous evaluation does is this focuses specifically on 3 products, on Exchange, Teams, and SharePoint Online. And it actually watches for critical events leveraging, and again, it's in conditional access. So you do have to have conditional access policies, but it watches for critical events that happen on a user account, such as a user account is deleted or disabled, passwords are changed, MFA is enabled, administrators revoke all refresh tokens, or elevated user risk detected by Azure AD Identity Protection. And instead of a lag, it's almost real time. Hey, this happened to your account. You no longer have access to it the way you used to because some key aspect has changed. And you get nearly immediately signed out or blocked access from everything until you go take care of that, whether it's entering a new password or enabling MFA, or in the case of your account being disabled, it gets re-enabled.
Yeah, I mean, basically that token, that access token that's cached on the client, they're saying on the service side that the resource provider, Exchange Online being the resource provider that your Outlook mobile client is talking to, it now has the capability to reject a token, even when that token is not expired, which is nice because it's now it really is on the kind of on the service side or on the server side that it's doing those checks and making the right things happen.
Yep. This is one of those that they've needed. I would say they've needed it for a while. They kind of had a little bit of it in the admin center where you could go like force a sign out of everybody, but even that wasn't always real time. So it's nice to see this security improvement added to those Azure AD accounts.
Yep. Potential client impacts here, because this is relying on some service side functionality to have the resource provider be able to, reject those tokens when they're not expired. That means that the service providers need to be able to inform the clients that they rejected their token. So that, you've got to present a challenge back to the client. So that mechanism is officially called a claim challenge. And that means that your clients also need to understand that claim challenge, just to have it be kind of a clean end user experience. So you're going to want to make sure that everybody's on the latest and greatest clients as well. So certainly if you're on like iOS or Android or things like that, you should be fine, because you're pulling those out of the Apple Store or Google Play Store, things like that. But for other clients, like on a Mac, like Outlook on the Mac or Outlook on the desktop, if you're in a managed environment and use slow roll updates or things like that, it could be a detrimental user experience.
Yep.
But hey, continuous access evaluation is a preview anyway.
Right. And probably another thing to think about is if you are allowing users to use other third party, specifically the one that people tend to use is for mail. Apple Mail, Google Mail, Android Mail, whatever the mail client is on theirs, they may also not support that claim challenge.
Yeah. So it could be
not even all the Office applications are in there. There's no OneNote in that list. It's Outlook, Teams, and then Word, Excel, PowerPoint.
Yeah, I would imagine over time it becomes anything that supports modern authentication, but today it does it does have that requirement in there. So
yep,
important to call it out.
Definitely. Anything else? You had one other one you sent over to me, publisher verification, that hit GA. We probably have time to sneak this one in.
Yeah. So one more for conditional access real quick.
Sorry. Okay.
Just because it came out, what's today? Came out yesterday. And that is the conditional access for Office 365 apps, which is now generally available. So that previewed earlier this year, where in the past in Azure AD, you would have had multiple applications that represented the Office 365 suite. Like you had Exchange Online as an app, you had SharePoint Online as an app. And if you wanted the same conditional access policy on both, you had to go configure that 2 times across both those apps. They released a kind of superset app that's just the Office 365 app available through conditional access. That was in preview. It has GA'd.
All right. Yay. Good to know. I missed that one GA'd yesterday. I remember talking about it when it hit preview, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago or so. I lose track.
Yeah, it was at least April, February, April, something like that. It went and came.
Did you decide to skip March there because March was just a bad month? February or April? You kind of
I believe it came out in February or April. It wouldn't have come out in March. I would have remembered specifically if it was March.
If it was March, I thought it was still February. It's have we made it out of February, March, and April yet?
It's currently like I don't even know, April 368th or something.
One of my nieces was putting a date on her schoolwork, and I think she wrote, it was right after we switched to October. I think she wrote like 30-1-2020, and my sister was like, and this is how long 2020 has felt, that we now have 30 months in 2020.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah. Okay, so that one has G8. That one is a nice one. And with that, we'll wrap it up. We'll come back to publisher verification next week.
Okay.
Sound good? Maybe I'll edit this out.
It's up to you.
No, we can call it a day. I have work to go do on this rainy Friday in Florida.
All right.
Yeah, I know. It's getting harder to get up early. It's fall, which in Florida means absolutely nothing other than it's just dark out later in the morning.
Yeah, it's still like hot as all get out outside.
Still humid, still hot, still Florida.
Still Florida.
Go enjoy your hot, humid weekend, and we will talk to you next week.
All right. Thanks, Ben.
All right. Thanks, Scott.